Hey everyone, this is the Mana Source. My name is Wedge. Welcome to this week's tournament report. Today, we'll be looking at two major tournament events, Grand Prix Warsaw in Poland and the Star City Open in Salt Lake City, Utah. Additionally, the Star City Open ran two tournaments, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. We'll be looking at the top 8 finishers from each of these three tournaments. So let's see all the best Jund and green-red aggro decks Standard has to offer. With rotation less than 2 months away, it's one of the better times for Standard to behave the way it is now. Since the 2014 core set came out, we've been seeing the format gravitate towards a shrinking number of dominant decks. Leading the charge, of course, is Jund. Jund mid-range variations took 9 out of the 24 top 8 spots over the weekend, and a 10th deck ran Jund colors but a zombie aggro list. Not far behind is green-red aggro, which has wasted no time becoming one of the biggest threats in Standard. It appeared in 7 top 8 spots across 3 tournaments, including 2 of the winners. The remaining third of the tournament wins went to a combination of other familiar lists and variations. Bant Hexproof, Black-Green Midrange, Junk Aristocrats, and Blue-White Flash. So let's not waste any more time. Let's dive in and start looking at these decks in detail. Jund continues to perform in a way that could be described by any synonym for domination. Seriously, at the rate it's going, we might run out of ways to describe its dominance before it rotates. Among the aforementioned 9 top 8s, William Jensen and Zachary Jeffers piloted similar decks to the top 2 of the SCG Sunday event. The biggest difference among Jund decks was the presence or absence of Lifebane zombies. The decks we saw this weekend either ran 2 to 4 of them in the main deck or none at all. Jund's prominence makes them a mixed bag. It increases the odds of weakening the Intimidate ability should an enemy Olivia Voldaren hit the table. On the other hand, it also ensures that there will be plenty of dangerous green creature cards to exile. A good idea considering the likes of Huntmaster of the Fells, Thragtusk, and everyone's favorite, Scavenging Ooze. Other unusual moves for the deck include Mizia Mortars and Rakdos Key Rune showing up as one-ofs in a handful of lists. Also in Jund colors, we saw an unusual take on the color scheme at the GP in Warsaw. There, Felipe Tapia Becerra took second place running a zombie aggro deck in Jund colors. This deck ran a smaller land base and lower curve than mid-range decks, topping out at 4 mana with Falcon Wrath Aristocrat. The deck also included Innistrad block favorites Gravecrawler, Geralf's Messenger, and Blood Artist. Alongside these, it ran newer threats like Lotlith Troll, Dregmangler, and Deathrite Shaman. The deck's few non-creature spells were proven removal and burn like Abrupt Decay, Brimstone Volley, Tragic Slip, and Liliana of the Veil. The other big deck of the weekend was green-red aggro, which has spread considerably since last weekend. It's come a long way since last weekend's Standard events to make a name for itself, and the name is Domri Raid. Decks were characterized by playsets of the 3-drop Planeswalker. Even those that ran only 3 in the main deck ran a 4th in sideboard. Wenzel Krotman ran this deck to win the GP in Warsaw. It also took 1st and 2nd in the SCG Saturday event, under the command of Jacob Toby and Roger Heber. The deck hasn't changed much since its inception, running mana acceleration and aggressive 2 to 4 mana creatures. A couple interesting variations popped up over the weekend. Haber promoted 2 Volcanic Strength from sideboard to main deck to respect the other green-red and Jund decks. Meanwhile, in the GP, Robin Yan splashed white for Loxodon Smiter and Restoration Angel. He also ran a pair of Garruk Primal Hunter main deck, a planeswalker in his waning days of Standard legality. Ban Hexproof has fallen out of the spotlight considerably in recent weeks. However, it's far from gone, having taken 3 top 8 finishes across the weekend's events. The deck is still seeing variation among its appearances. Some lists have taken to running Fiendslayer Paladin to recognize the threat of Jund and green-red aggro. Regardless of matchup, the Paladin also provides a powerful first-striking blocker that can gain you some life on the side. 2 of the weekend's decks ran multiple copies of Ajani Caller of Pride. The decks also varied in charm usage, with one using Simic Charms, one using one of each of that and Selesnya Charm, and one omitting charms entirely for main deck Spell Ruptures. Black-green midrange made a sideline appearance, looking much like Jund would if you stripped out red. Between the deck's 2 appearances in top 8s this past weekend, the biggest differences were in quantities of each card. Both decks stepped up to a full set of Desecration Demon. This filled out a creature curve, also including Lifebane Zombie, Disciple of Bolas, and Thragtusk. Black and green give the deck access to a wide variety of removal. Abrupt Decay, Putrefy, Doomblade, and Tragic Slip fill out that role. Mutilate pinch hits for sweepers along the lines of Bonfire or Mizzium Mortars. 3 Liliana of the Veil and a single Vraska the Unseen round out the list. Junk Aristocrats showed up in the Star City Open, running a fairly unique list among the weekend's top decks. The deck basically ran with the best low-cost aggressive creatures its black-green-white mana base had to offer. The low curve includes the likes of Young Wolf, Voice of Resurgence, Blood Artist, Skursdag High Priest, and Varol's the Scar-Striped. It tops out with Desecration Demon at 4 mana. Tragic Slip and a single Abrupt Decay make up the deck's removal package. Meanwhile, Lingering Souls and Sorin, Lord of Innistrad, show up as token producers. The deck also runs a pair of Gavony Township among its land base, good for making its smaller creatures relevant in the late game. Our last deck this week was Blue-White Flash, a new variation on a slightly more colorful deck. The deck takes the red out of its previously more popular cousin. It also drops Snapcaster Mage entirely, adding Planeswalker's Jace Memory Adept and Tameo the Moonsage in its place. The deck's focus, its non-creature spells, looks very much like a blue-white control list. Azorius Charm, Detention Sphere, and Supreme Verdict, along with counters like Syncopate, Essence Scatter, and Dissipate, keep the board clear. Think Twice and Sphinx's Revelation provide card advantage just as well as they ever have. The deck does add Blind Obedience to slow down aggressive foes and provide some additional sustain. And of course, Restoration Angel comes crashing in to finish off opponents. Thanks again for joining us for this week's tournament review. Jund still seems to rule the earth, with green-red close behind. If you want the lowdown on these decks so you can play them yourself, or if you want to take a run in engineering their downfall, make sure to check out our Deck Tech series. We took a closer look at Jund midrange recently, and tomorrow we're doing the same for green-red aggro. Subscribe to see these and all of our videos as soon as they're out. Next weekend, the Grand Prix and Star City Open series are both off, so our tournament review series will be taking a break as well. But we'll see you in 2 weeks with results from Grand Prix Kitakyushu and the Star City Open in Baltimore. This is the Mana Source. I'm Wedge. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.